Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 22, verses 29 to 35. Verse 29. Atha Gopai Parifrito Bhagavan Devaki Sutta Vrindavanad Gatoduram Charayanga Sahagacha. Sometime later, Lord Krishna, son of Devaki, surrounded by his cowherd friends and accompanied by his elder brother Balaram, went a good distance away from Vrindavan, herding the cows. Report. Having described how Lord Krishna stole the garments of young gopis, Shukadeva Goswami now begins introducing description of Lord Krishna's blessings upon the wives of some ritualistic Brahmins. Text 30. Nidakarka tapetig me chayabi swabhi atmana atapatra itan viksha duman ahavajavasa. Then the sun's heat became intense. Lord Krishna saw that the trees were acting as umbrellas by shading him, and thus he spoke as follows to his boyfriends. Text 31, 32. Istoka Krishna he amsho Shidama Subalarjuna Vishala Vishabhau Jasvin Devaprastava Rupapa Pashyataitam Mahabhagam Parataikan Tajivitan Vata Varshat Pahiman Sahato Varayantina. Lord Krishna said, O Stoka Krishna Amsho Sridama Subal and Arjuna, O Vishal Vishab, O Jasvi Devaprasta and Varutapa. Just see these greatly fortunate trees whose lives are completely dedicated to the benefit of others. Even while tolerating the wind, rain, heat, and snow, they protect us from these elements. Lord Krishna was preparing to bestow his mercy on the wives of the hard-hearted, ritualistic Brahmanas. And in these verses, the Lord indicates that even trees who are dedicated to the welfare of others are superior to Brahmins who are not. Certainly, the members of the Krishna conscious movement should soberly study this point. Text 33. Oho ishambaram janma sarvapranyu pajivanam sujana syevyeshamvai vimukayantina. Just see how these trees are maintaining every living entity. Their birth is successful. Their behavior is just like that of great personalities. For anyone who asks anything from a tree never goes away disappointed. 4. This translation is quoted from Srila Prabhupada's Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi 946. Text 34. Patra pushpa phalochaya mula valkaladarbi kantinaya sabhasmasti chokmai kamanvitan. These trees fulfill one's desires with their leaves, flowers, and fruits, their shade, roots, bark, and wood, and also with their fragrant sap, ashes, pulp, and shoots. Text 35. Itavajamasafa yamdehiramihadehishu pranaratathyavacha sheya acharanam sada. Translation. It is a duty of every living being to perform welfare activities for the benefit of others with his life, wealth, intelligence, and words. This translation is quoted from Srila Prabhupada's Chaitanya Charitamrita. Mukam karati vachalam bangam langhate girim yakupam tamaham vande ishigunu tivatarina. Om Gyana Timirandasya Gyananjara Sharakaya Chakshuminitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has commented on these verses. A birth in the species of such magnanimous trees is superior and worshipable by saintly persons, rather than that of such miserly armies of the Brahmana class. In order to make this opinion known, Krishna glorifies the trees, addressing his friends in the 4 verses beginning Pashata. So we heard a lot of names of different boys, starting with Stoka Krishna. These 8 boys are in the 8 directions with the duty of protecting Krishna. So Krishna goes out to herd the cows, and he's got these 8 boys in all the 8 directions just to protect him. Devaprasta and Varutapa are his umbrella carrier and cleanser of his path. and are situated for performing their duties in front and behind. The 11th boy, Vajrasena, is the commander of the army of cowherd boys, supervising all of them. It seems he is at that time situated at some distance away. And so these trees are worshiping Krishna with all their hearts. They're giving everything they have, worshiping Krishna. So there's a verse in Bhagavad Gita, 10th chapter, verse 8, which describes what these trees are doing. Krishna says, Aham sarasya prabhavo matta sarvam pravartate iti mattva bhajante mam bhuta bhava samamvidva. I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. So there's a principle here. Everything's coming from Krishna. And so it means that everything belongs to Krishna. And if you know this, if you know everything belongs to Krishna, what will your behavior be? If you know this all belongs to Krishna, this whole world, then you will give everything to Krishna, whatever you see. And that's what this verse is all about, these verses, especially the last one. And so if you know everything's coming from Krishna, then you will worship Krishna in devotional service with all your heart. So how should we worship Krishna? What should we offer? Krishna tells us in Gita, chapter 9, verse 26, Patram pushpam phalam toyam yo me bhaktya prayachati taraham bhakti paritam ashrami prayatak manaha. A leaf, a fruit, and water. So these are, these are what we can offer. And if you study this world, you will find there is a form of Krishna called the universal form. And the trees are the hairs on his body. And we need those trees. We need these herbs that are growing from the body of the universal form. We need them for sacrifice. And we worship Krishna by sacrifice. So every herb, every plant, every tree has a purpose to fulfill in its life. It has a service. It has meaning. And the name in Sanskrit is Oshadhi, Oshad. Oshad is also another name for medicine. It also means herbs. If you go to India, you'll find an Ayurvedic medicine shop. It's called Oshada Loya, the shop of herbs or medicine. So during when Maharishi Yudhisthira was here 5,000 years ago, the clouds were showering all the water people needed. The earth gave all the necessities of man. And the cow was moisturing the ground with its milk. The rivers, the oceans, the hills, the mountains, the forests, the creepers, and active drugs paid their tax quota to the king in profusion. So in a Krishna conscious kingdom, not only do the people pay taxes, but the trees also pay their taxes in fruits and flowers, and the rivers pay their taxes. They all have a tax to pay to the king. Everything that we see has a purpose. Everything in nature has to give something. It has a function. All the vegetables, each and every vegetable has some service. We don't know. When there's a Krishna conscious king, then they all cooperate to serve the king and give freely what we need. Because we don't know the use of these vegetables, these creepers, and we go to the Western doctor. The Ayurvedic doctors, they know. Srila Prabhupada said that in the remote villages in India, they still don't go to doctors. They know all the herbs. And he said, Prabhupada said, I read in an Ayurvedic book, there is one herb root. If you have a toothache, you just touch this herb to your mouth and all the germs will come out. So he said, when in the year 1931-32, I had a very severe toothache. I went to the dentist. They couldn't do anything. And so then my servant took me to the jungle, to one Ayurvedic doctor, and they cured me. There's so many. He just took an herb, and I was cured. The dentist couldn't help me. And so there's a purpose for the trees. There's a purpose for the herbs. The river, it collects water all year long. During rainy season, it's on the top of the hill, and then it comes down, and we have our water. So there's full cooperation when there's a Krishna conscious king. Now we see there's a lot of problems. There's floods because the demons are in control of the world, and it's very difficult for us to live here with so many disturbances. But nature can be controlled if we surrender to Krishna. If we are devotees, then it will be controlled. Srila Prabhupada gives the example. 1898, when Prabhupada was 2 years old, there was a plague in Calcutta, and everyone left. People were leaving. People were dying. And so how did they cure that plague? One Babaji took a Harinam party from house to house, and everyone joined, Christians, Muslims, everyone joined the Harinam. And Prabhupada said, I was only up to the knees of the people, but I was dancing. And it's in history that the plague in Calcutta was controlled by the Sankirtan movement. Yeah, of course, Prabhupada said we don't recommend to use Sankirtan for material purpose, but that's the power of the holy name. And so Krishna has made arrangement. Gita says we came here and we had arrangement for sacrifice. And if there's a Krishna conscious king, then the river will serve us, the hill will serve, the mountains, the animals, the trees. Everyone will serve. Of course, there are some people who think no need to worship the Lord. They are called impersonalists. They think I am God. Yes, everyone should worship me. Everyone should worship me. I'm a God. The devotee wants to give everything to Krishna. No one can claim anything as his own. We should offer out of gratitude. Out of gratitude, Krishna has given me this. When we wake up in the morning, we should be grateful to Krishna. Thank you for giving me another day. Thank you for giving me the air to breathe. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to walk, to breathe, to see, to hear, because they can be taken away at any moment. And so Srila Prabhupada says, when human society is grateful to the Lord for all his gifts, for maintenance, there is no scarcity or want. But when men are unaware of the value of such gifts, they are in want. So one reason why we should offer to Krishna is out of gratitude. Another reason we should offer to Krishna is just out of love. Out of love. Krishna's not hungry, he's not poor, he doesn't need it, but he's looking for what we are holding back, not what we're giving, what we are holding back, and that is our love. So bhakti is the main thing. So pure devotee, he gives everything to Krishna, but he also gives everything to the devotees of Krishna, because they are the representatives of Krishna. Pritha Maharaj, he heard from the four Kumaras philosophy, the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, and then he wanted to give them something. He said, but it's my duty to offer you, but all I possess are remnants of food which you have taken. The saintly persons, they are giving us the mercy of Krishna. And so Sudama Vipra is another example. He gave a little chipped rice to Krishna, and he got an opulent palace. So this verse that we are studying, last verse, 35, says that everyone should serve the Lord by four things: prana, life; artha, wealth; dhya, intelligence; and vacha, words. So prana, artha, dhya, and vacha. Prana. First, you should give your life. Give your life to Krishna. like we did. A lot of Prabhupada disciples, they gave their life to Krishna. But you may think, well, that's too much. I can't give my whole life. I've got things to do. Okay. If you can't give prana, give artha, give some money to Krishna. Give some money, artha. You think, well, I don't have money and can't give my life. All right, diya, your intelligence, help in organizing the festivals, the classes. Well, you may think, well, actually, I don't have much intelligence either. Okay, one thing is left, vacha, give your words. Chant Hare Krishna. Tell others to chant. Distribute books. And so Srila Prabhupada, he was encouraging us in all of these things. All of these things. Our life, our money, our intelligence, and our words. And he feels bad if he sees these things are not engaged in Krishna's service. So Srila Prabhupada, he was trying to engage us in all of these ways. And Srila Prabhupada saw all living entities as parts of Krishna, but they're not offering themselves to Krishna. So he was preaching to everyone to you should offer yourself to Krishna. Just like there is a verse in the end of Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Karma Pritaja Mamekam Sharanam Rajaham Tvam Sarva Papebhyo Moksha Shami Mashisha. And that means that Krishna says, surrender to me, and I will give up all your nonsense ideas of religion and surrender to me, and I will give you all protection. So in one purport in Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada translates this verse in a very sweet way. He says, give up all varieties of religion and give yourself to me. Krishna is asking us, give yourself to me. And so it's a very sweet translation. Not surrender means kind of like he's ordering you. But give yourself to me is more like a lover, beloved. Give yourself to me. And so it's a very nice translation by Srila Prabhupada of that verse. So he had that vision. He engaged all of us, rich and poor. Some of us had nothing to give to Krishna except our life. Others had money, like Amrish Prabhu, Jayananda gave his savings to Prabhupada to print Nectar of Devotion. Brahmananda gave his life savings also. When he was giving the check of his $5,000 check to Srila Prabhupada, then he asked Prabhupada if he could have the set of Srimad Bhagavatam, 3 books. So he asked for the books, and Prabhupada said, that will be extra. So he had to pay for the books, but then come within the $5,000, extra $16. And Brahmananda said, well, to get that $16 was harder than getting the $5,000, which he was working for, because now he was a brahmachari, didn't have a job. And so these are reasons why we should offer to Krishna and things we should offer to Krishna. Another reason we should offer to Krishna is out of friendship. There is a verse in Nectar of Instruction. Dadati pratigrihati guhyam akyati prichati bhukti vojayati chaiva sadvidham iti lakshanam. Offering gifts in charity, accepting charitable gifts, revealing one's mind in confidence, inquiring confidentially, accepting prasadam and offering prasadam are the 6 symptoms of love shared by one devotee and another. Now, if you go back to 1966 in New York, where perhaps you are in New York right now, some of you, probably gave a lecture on the 9th chapter 9, verses 24, 26, about offering leaf of flower, fruit, and water. And he said, we have to make friendship with Krishna. Just like if you want to see somebody great, you make a connection, you introduce yourself in a loving manner. So if we want to go to Krishna Loka, we have to prepare ourselves how to love Krishna. So Srila Prabhupada said that these 6 kinds of loving exchanges, we should also exchange with Krishna. And the beginning is offering. And so how to love Krishna? You must practice. You have to get up early in the morning, Prabhupada said. You don't like to, but you think, oh yes, I'll get up early to satisfy Krishna. So then, I have to chant 16 rounds of Hare Krishna mantra. Difficult. You may be lazy, Prabhupada said. You may not want to do it, but, so this was 1966. You must do it. In the beginning, you have to learn how to love Krishna, but when you actually come to the state of love, there's no question, I have to do this. Can't wait to get my hands on my bead bag. And so we give gifts to Krishna, accept gifts from him. We have to reveal our mind. And we need to go in front of the deities and reveal our mind. Pray. And then he will answer your prayers. Give him something to eat, then accept the sadhana. And then we will develop love for Krishna. In 1970, when I was in Boston as a new devotee, we used to all have to line up and see the deities once a week in front of the deities. And we would have to go up one by one and individually tell the deity, what service did I do this week, what problems I had, and say prayers, reveal our mind confidentially. So you can do that. You can do that. Unfortunately, the impersonalist thinks he's God. He wants to become God. But the devotee says, I'm servant of God. I will become one in interest. So we are also becoming one with Krishna because we know everything belongs to Krishna. And so we also become one in friendship and love, as a mother, as a friend, as a lover. We can become one with Krishna. So in one purport, Prabhupada said, a person who has no God consciousness may live in opulence for the time being due to his past virtuous acts. But if one forgets his relationship with Krishna, he must await the stage of starvation by the law of powerful material nature. And so if you engage in devotional service, then you will not suffer. Suffering may come, it's the material world, but you will not be affected by it. You'll be able to tolerate, like the trees tolerating, we heard today, the rain, the snow, everything. So one time in London, Srila Prabhupada was arriving at the airport, and there was a press conference. All the devotees hit the ground as soon as they saw Prabhupada. So the reporter said to Prabhupada, do you think you are God? Prabhupada said, spiritual master should be given all respects as God. But if he thinks he's God, then he is dog. So yes, we worship Krishna, we worship the spiritual master also. But the impersonalist, he has a problem because he has a lot of competition. Everyone in this world wants everyone to worship them. And he cannot enjoy, like the ones who are strict impersonalists, they also try to avoid nice food. The devotee, he enjoys because he gives everything to Krishna, everything he eats, and he offers in devotion, and then he can have nice prasadam. So now, if you study scrutinizingly the lotus feet of Srimati Radharani, you will find something very interesting about sacrifice. There is a sacrificial altar on Radharani's lotus foot, one of her feet, and it has many meanings. One of the meaning is if you meditate upon her feet, your sins will be burned up as if on the altar of sacrifice. Also, it means the universe is nourished by Brahmins offering fire sacrifices, but if you offer your mind in sacrifice to the Radha Krishna's lotus feet, you will stimulate universal nourishment that affects all of creation. So Everyone is important. Even if one of us gives our mind to Krishna, meditates on Krishna, you can nourish the whole universe. That will help in universal nourishment. Now, my favorite meaning of the sacrificial altar on Radharani's lotus feet is, it says, the universe is the form of Krishna. So whatever you see, that's Krishna. And the offering is the form of Radharani. So the perfect union is indicated by the mark of a sacrificial altar. So if we offer something to Krishna, we are uniting Radharani with Krishna. So when I was in Calcutta, I was Pujari, and Srila Prabhupada said that this deity worship is being conducted under the direction of Srimati Radharani. And that's what Krishna says. Sri Rupa Goswami says in Nectar of Devotion, to perform devotional service means to follow in the footsteps of Radharani. And devotees in Vrindavan put themselves under the care of Radharani and to achieve perfection. And that's why they all say Radhe Radhe, Radhe Radhe. Even if you get attacked by the monkeys, you should chant Radhe Radhe and they will respect you. I did that once. And so in Bhagavad Gita also it says the Mahatmas are under protection of Devi Prakriti, Devi Prakriti, internal energy, Radharani. So being under the control of the internal potency of Krishna, devotional service attracts Krishna. So we have 5,000 years ago also, this Bhagavatam was being spoken by Sutta Goswami. The sages Naimisharanya had a realization. They were doing a fire sacrifice, and at the same time, they were hearing Srimad Bhagavatam from Sutta Goswami. And so they said, they had a realization. We have just begun the performance of this fruitive activity, a sacrificial fire, without certainty of its result due to the many imperfections in our actions. So who can do proper sacrifice these days? Our bodies have become black from the smoke, but we are factually pleased by the nectar of the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead Govinda, which you are distributing. And so the fire sacrifice wasn't happening very well. Fire wasn't coming, it was smoking a lot. But at the same time, they were hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. So that was the actual perfection of sacrifice. So in this age of Kali, our sacrifice is not of fire, but of ears, our tongue, our minds, and the nectar of association with Radha Krishna in the form of their holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. So if we can just chant Hare Krishna, and that will take care of everything, our life, our wealth, our intelligence, and our words. That will be the perfection of our lives. So I will stop here. If you have any questions, you can ask at this point.
Narayani, Devi, dasi, great class, wonderful. So we're going to have Andrea go first, followed by the temple room.
Okay.
Hare Krishna. Please accept my humble obeisance, Narayani Prabhu. It's so great to have you here. Thank you so much for coming. I love how you're able to teach us the Shastra and you can still put in the sense of humor. I can feel how, kind of like how Srila Prabhupada was, that he'd be kind of giving these really heavy subjects, but then kind of bringing it back to earth. And I love the idea of the monkeys attacking in Vrindavan and still thinking of, rather than just going, Radhe, 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 and just running as fast as you can. And I love how you brought it back to the whole idea of how we're following in the steps of Radha when we are performing devotional service. And I was wondering if you could speak to, I had heard the phrase aparad was also connected to Radha in a way, and I was wondering if you could speak to that and kind of explain a little bit about that as well, please. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, well, the name Radha is in the word aparadha. So apa means against, or not following, actually. We have apa sampradayas, sampradayas who do not follow our sampradaya. So if aparada means offense, you're committing an offense to the name, to the devotees, to other living entities. So this offense is very serious. So apa means, yes, you can trace it back to offending Radharani, because if we make an offense, then we are offending the source of devotional service. Apa means against or not following.
Temple room. Any questions, reflections? Unmute yourself, Adipusha Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Good morning. Thank you so much. Wonderful class. Srila Prabhupada's empowering you. It's not different than here. Probably it says that even in the next generation, as the message is passed down, it gets sweeter. So your presentation was by Prabhupada's grace.
For sure, it was Prabhupada all the way.
Yeah.
trying to connect.
Just pours out. The wisdom just pours out. Recently, somebody was saying, well, you so nicely how you explained that, someone can surrender everything, or they can give a donation, or they can use their intelligence, contribute like that, or give their words. Because somebody was telling me recently, well, new people are coming. We shouldn't tell them that Ahitukiya pratiyata, unceasing, unmotivated devotional service will satisfy the self, because then they'll be discouraged. That it's just too much to tell them that. But the way you presented it was perfect, and exactly the way Prabhupada would present it, that we don't want to forget the ideal. The gopis in the story, they're giving everything, the trees were giving everything, and that we have a guest program. We had 75 guests there last night. And when people check in, after we explain to them there's no smoking, it's vegetarian, we tell them, we say, well, we're going to make a prayer that we remember we have a choice to give our whole life to the service of God. And then we say, what do you think? And I've known me do this a little while. The last 300 people in a row that I checked in, except for one girl, when I said, let us remember, let's pray that we remember we have a choice to give our whole life to the service of God. And yes. 299 out of 300 people said, yes, oh, that's wonderful. And they found it refreshing and not intimidating. So I was yes. reflecting on the fact that we don't want to hesitate to tell them that ideal stage is available. But then do what you can, and Krishna will be pleased if you do your humble best. We don't have to compare ourselves to others.
Right.
I don't think, as far as I know, Srila Prabhupada did tell us like that, and Bhagavatam tells us like that. Bhagavad Gita tells us like that, yes, everything is Krishna's, so let's surrender it to Krishna. Let's give up the idea. I agree with Prabhu said one time to Prabhupada, Prabhupada, I want to surrender everything. Prabhupada said, what do you have to surrender? It wasn't yours in the first place. What we have to give up is the idea that it's mine. Anyway, your presentation was perfect. We thank you very much. Well, glory to Srila Prabhupada.
Yeah, Prabhupada did say once that you may walk into the Bank of America and say, I renounce this bank. But it's not yours to renounce.
Right.
Yeah. And also devotees, there are some wild stories, like when there was traveling Sankirtan. They used to go to the supermarket and offer the whole supermarket, except for the meat, fish, and eggs, to Krishna. And then they could eat whatever they wanted from the supermarket. Anyway, yeah, these were the old days. Very wild. Yeah, it's good. The Prabhupada, Krishna gives us a choice in Gita. You can always think of me, or you can do bhakti, or you can help the devotees. So he doesn't say it's all or nothing. And so Prabhupada was like that when he didn't tell the 4 negative principles until after initiation. So far as I understand, after the first initiation, somebody asked about the 4 negative principles and said, "Oh, I was waiting for you to ask about that." So, yeah. Okay, any more questions?
Yeah, Srila Prabhupada told Shyamasundara Prabhu, 1 less cigarette a day.
Yeah, well, he was carving Jagannath.
Yeah. And he put the cigarettes on top of Jagannath.
Yeah, I know.
Shyamasundara Prabhu ki jai. And then I hope I'm getting it right. There was one anecdote with Srila Prabhupada where a devotee was confessing to Srila Prabhupada that he had gone to Maya. Srila Prabhupada, I was in Maya, but now I'm good. And Srila Prabhupada looked at him and said, "You're always in Maya, and sometimes you're good. Sometimes you're in Krishna consciousness. You can't say, I was in Maya. No, we're always in Maya. And sometimes we have a glimpse of devotional service and Krishna consciousness."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, any other questions? Contributions? Ananda Manjari.
Hare Krishna. I would like to hear more about the relation to our sacrifices and chanting of the holy name to like natural cataclysms, because I find that it's something so joyous for my heart to hear, and at the same time like so far from where we are placed in the material world. And could you just speak a little bit more about it?
What was that word you say? Natural cataclysm?
Cataclysms, like just the hurricanes, the floods, everything that is happening in the natural world.
Ask that. I do have something to say about that. There was these devotees in Ukraine. I can tell you that that they're going through a lot of trouble. They're talking about how the bombs are going off. They didn't understand. They were in the middle of the night. We ran to hide the children in a small basement with our neighbors. We ourselves remained in our house to wait for dawn. All the windows were blown out. This was just at the beginning of the war. This is like when the war just started. Gathering everything, we freed the cars to go to other devotees who were hiding in the basement house. Under the explosion of bombs, we barely left the house and moved safely. The brave devotees went back to the house to pick up a large supply of food and returned safely. We were very shocked. It was creepy and scary. Only Kirtan saved us from this state of terrible fear. For several more days, we lived in this place. Every day, more and more devotees came to us. My mind turned, I tried to accept the situation as it is without getting involved in politics, because they say Ukraine versus Russia. I tried to think about Krishna all the time, especially when it was very scary, but it was very difficult. My mind turned off. Even during heavy bombing, I chanted physically, but in my mind, I could not even imagine the appearance of Krishna. Everything was not clear. For a moment, everything was blurry, only fear. I took this fear as karma for all living beings I killed, the opportunity to be cleansed and pray, sincerely pray, having removed all the masks. I thought it was the end of life. We should leave the body. And Srila Prabhupada came to pick us up. But after we didn't get a single scratch, I realized Krishna, Srila Prabhupada, all the devotees are protecting us. Everything material fell off in an instant. Only grief for my mother, sister, and nephews bothers me. I don't know what is happening to them. It brings great suffering. My beloved devotees take great care of everyone. We have a lot of realizations. The brightest is we finally understood what the material world is like and what we would do if not for Srila Prabhupada. A lot of everything superfluous has fallen off. Stupid desires, aspirations, all this has lost its sweet meaning. Faith intensified. Krishna shed special mercy on us. and took everything away, leaving his holy names, which are everything. In contrast, I felt sweetness and intense joy while chanting, putting everything in the hands of Krishna, even if forced. I am grateful for this experience, although it was very painful, but I intend to continue serving Krishna and all his servants with even greater enthusiasm. Thank you very much. By your grace, I have acquired many valuables. In this war, I was born as a servant of a servant. This most important event in my life overshadowed all adversity. So here's a true story from Ukrainian devotee, how they were saved by Prabhupada in the holy name. And everything was taken away, but then they realized the holy name was everything. And yeah, I didn't read the whole thing, how, all the things that was happening to them. Electricity turned off, melting the snow to get water, and yeah. So, no, and freezing cold, they had no heat. So, but they remembered somehow.
Thank you, Narayani, Devi, Dasi Prabhu. Very sobering message, very hopeful and Krishna conscious take on things. Andrea says we have so many Vaishnavis joining us from Urban Devi. Urban Devis, welcome to our class. Thank you very much. Would you like to say something, Urban Devi? Urban Devis? Who's your spokesperson? Spokes Devi. I feel like I'm the Urban Dev. No, okay, no problem. Shyness is a virtue, no problem. Anandaloka, I know you're not shy to glorify Krishna. Would you like to say something? Unmute Anandaloka, please. Unleash Anandaloka.
Yes. Thank you for a beautiful class. You hit so many very valuable points at some of the things that we should really be more conscious of, especially in this day and age when there's so many confusing things going around. But when we talk about going back to basics, I remember I was a tennis pro for many years teaching tennis, and even in working with, people who had taken up this challenge for years in their life, years and years and years, because to advance in anything, it takes dedication. And sometimes we do things repetitively to the point where they come natural, but we lose the essence of it. And I get the opportunity to travel all over the country, and I talk to so many devotees who have had struggles and challenges and have left. And they, one of the things that always comes up is the difficulty in chanting, and how, when they first came, they got a little bit of a taste, and then somehow or other they got more distracted and they didn't take it so serious, and then the service, just builds up. But I think that's one of the things also is with us, is we have this valuable gem. We have this incredible gift that Srila Prabhupada's given us. The Lord Chaitanya's given us in the holy names. And we should be taking full advantage of this. And sometimes we may need to go back to basics, some of those simpler things that we learned when we first came in. Now it's even challenging for people to chant 8 rounds. Some people are coming in, and I'm not criticizing. I am not criticizing, because maybe it's a necessity that I don't understand. Because when I came in the 70s, we just right away, 16 rounds, no ifs, buts, or anything. And it worked, and it still can work today. So again, but I think, I think one of the things is to really, set aside this valuable time for chanting. And one of the big things today too is to put the phone away. That's one of the biggest distractions I see. I see devotees, and I see they have their bead in one hand and then their phones in the other hand, and put that phone away. Just get, it's a personal time that you get to spend with Krishna for the hour or so, and everything should go into that. Everything. This should be, and it's distracting enough. The world is distracting enough for us, But a lot of us have tasted, when we take up that challenge and we go through all of the difficulties that it may be to be able to sit down and get out around, the benefits are enormous, because we're asking Krishna, please engage me. And then the opportunity opens up. And then we have to take that next step. So I just wanted to emphasize a simple point of all of us who are chanting to just take to heart this precious gem that we have and increase. Hare Krishna.
Can you put that?
Is that Archie?
Yeah, this is darshan time. We will ask everybody to turn their cameras on if they can. We understand urban Devis are shy. No problem. Narayani Devi Dasi, great class. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me. If you can tag me on Facebook with the class, I would appreciate it.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Thank you. Christine Carroll.
Okay. We know where you live.
I'm in the USA right now.
Oh, cool. Come to New York.
Yeah, well, not quite. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay, this was it. Thank you very much, dear devotees, for attending this class, participating actively and sincerely. Very nice seeing you, Andrea, Shruti, Chaturvedi, Sashali, Scarlett, Blossom, Amrita Kishori, Didi, Bhima Prabhu. iPhone, that's Arjuna Prabhu. I know that for a fact. Arjuna Prabhu, Hare Krishna. Gaia, Domi, Bruce Prabhu, Suzanne, Rich, Leslie, Dana Krishna's Radharani, Kartik, Pink Yogi of Harlem, Sharmila, Justy, Isabel, Spirit Soul, Dana Kaylee Prabhu, Hannah, Yogeshwari. Thank you very much, dear devotees. That was a wonderful class. Krishna conscious, straightforward, Prabhupada based. I loved it. Okay. Would anyone else like to say anything at this point? Just give me a smile. At least give us a smile.
We should always remember that we will always have. Can you hear me?
Yes. We can't see you though. Are you in the closet?
That's okay. You don't need to see me.
Closeted devotee.
Yeah. We should always remember that we're all going to come, all of us, without an exception, come to that Ukraine moment in our own lives where all we have is the holy name. So let's get down to it right now. Hare Krishna.
Nice, Bhima Prabhu. You nailed it. Ukraine moment. Ukraine is the new Kurukshetra moment. Ukraine moment. This world has nothing to offer. So we're taking shelter of Krishna, happily, joyfully surrendering, relaxing, and coming again tomorrow. Srimad Bhagavatam never ends, never stops. It's nice seeing you. Have a wonderful Friday. Hare Krishna.